He looked at the severed head I extracted and showed no mercy towards Sawyer. Instead, he rebuked him as a useless person, criticizing that he couldn't even kill me, a mere ant from the mystic purple realm, until he recognized that I was holding the sword of God slaying. His disdainful expression gave way to a hint of fear. His tightly closed right pupil subtly loosened, as he desperately wanted to glimpse my secret. He was curious as to why the sword, stained with divine blood, which he had forbidden anyone to touch, was now tightly held in my hand. But he still suppressed his curiosity. Arrogantly, he believed that a mere me from the mystic purple realm was not worthy of catching his eye. Feeling the overflowing murderous intent from the Jean Palace in my hands, I carry a mighty power that could change fates. I swing my sword towards true immortal Cloud. He still feels fear towards the sword of God slaying, true immortal Cloud, and he remains vigilant, making defensive moves without being careless. What he doesn't know is that my feigned sword strike is just an illusion. My goal is Hazel, who is kneeling behind me. Her condition is very bad at the moment, clutching her shoulders, her body trembling uncontrollably. Her dim pupils almost lacked any light. No matter how I shouted, there was no response. In the midst of panic, I suddenly remembered the red string she had entrusted to me before. I realized that she was about to be demonized. Anxiously, I tied the red string back onto her hand. The true immortal Cloud, who was being played around, instantly became furious. He manipulated the blood-seizing sword to fly towards me in midair. The sword has already reached behind me, but Hazel, who is tied with a red rope, has not improved. I obviously failed to avoid bringing Hazel along. I could only block Jean Palace with my body. Although I blocked the sword, I couldn't stop its momentum. Under the tremendous impact, blood sprayed from my mouth involuntarily. Hazel and my arms seemed to be in more serious condition at this point. The backlash of marrow blood is too severe. A terrifying gurgling sound kept coming from her body. Damn it! Years ago, I witnessed Master die right in front of me with my own eyes. Must I now watch Hazel die in my arms as well? An uncontrollable rage surged within me. I have never hated myself as much as I do at this moment. The black pill inside me accelerated to its peak and boiled. I gather all the chi in my body on top of Jean Palace. I angrily slashed true immortal Cloud with a sword. The fierce battle with Hazel greatly weakened true immortal Cloud's golden body. The Black Phoenix Sword Sutra, blessed by Jean Palace, became even more unstoppable. The sharp sword chi thoroughly pierced through his proud Dharma body. As the spiritual golden body shattered desolately, the true immortal Cloud, which had lost its protection, dropped a whole realm. However, I also found myself unable to cope with the intense depletion of chi. The fierce surge of chi burned my entire right arm crimson. The premonition of being devoured by marrow blood becomes increasingly apparent, with Hazel's pupils on the verge of being swallowed by darkness. Suddenly, she bit down on my arm. Looking at her lips, and teeth stained with my blood, I realized that Hazel had not lied to me. The untied Hazel was indeed capable of cannibalism. The true immortal Cloud burst into laughter upon seeing this scene. Seeing that I refused to give up the girl in my arms, true immortal Cloud, holding blood seas, quickly moved towards me to attack. He actually wanted to see if he would kill me first, or if Hazel would devour me first. I cannot dodge. The sword went straight into my chest. But true immortal Cloud was stunned, as it seemed that blood seas did not pierce through my chest as he had anticipated. The sword seemed to have hit something solid, as it couldn't pierce through and no longer could advance even half an inch. I myself was stunned as well. When I looked down, I found a pitch-black hard object perfectly integrated into my flesh. At this moment, I suddenly realized that the black scales were never lost, but somehow, they ended up inside my body. No wonder I can see through illusions that others can't see through. And true immortal Cloud is also extremely different from before in that moment. He actually captured the scent of an ancient god on me. An unknown teenager, unable to see the chi-si of the chi pill, can wield the god-slaying sword. the scales buried deep inside him, facing all sorts of curiosity. His inner demon is also urging him to open his right pupil. He wants to peek at the secrets on my body. Although reason tells him that there is no need to open his eyes now, once curiosity is piqued, it is like a raging flood that cannot be contained, driving him crazy. His right eye's secretive pupils suddenly open wide, densely packed small eyeballs crowded like young eggs. He just needs to take a look. He can then directly perceive the greatest secret in the depths of the human heart. When I saw his right pupil for a moment, the hair on my body couldn't help but stand up. Such dense objects bring about innate disgust and fear in people. Under the direct gaze of his right eye, my memories seemed to transform into a carousel of vivid images, clearly displayed in front of him. Peeking at the secret true immortal cloud, he was ecstatic, almost intoxicated by the images in my memories for a moment. The legend is not wrong. There really is a world beyond this world, the demonic cult river diagram, the Luo Dead Town. What is that? When he saw the words, Dead Town, his eyes suddenly widened. He looked towards a huge dark shadow. That glance was the most foolish choice of his life. The densely packed small eyeballs exploded instantly. True immortal cloud covered his eyes. He screamed in agony, tearing at his heart and lungs. He gazed directly at the god that should not be gazed upon. I take this opportunity. I raised John Palace in my hand and shot it towards him. The sharp edge of the sword carries a fierce aura. I pierced into the body of the true immortal cloud with one strike. At the same time, I saw a dark little demon rushing towards true immortal cloud, gnawing at his body. The sudden scene left me full of doubts. Did true immortal cloud really die like that? Hazel in my arms seemed to show some signs of movement. She slowly opened her eyes, and the dark pupils had faded away. Rationality gradually returned. It was only then that I realized my blood had alleviated Hazel's demonization. Hazel kept looking into the distance, as if she had something to say to me. She raised her hand hesitantly and croaked out in a hoarse voice, "Be careful." This made me feel a hint of alertness, so I turned back to look in the direction she was pointing. Under the reflection of the bright moon suspended in the air, there was a graceful figure dressed in white. She was standing aloof on top of a high building. She comes from a noble background since she was young. Due to the extinguishing of the true immortal destiny lamp, she spared no effort to step from the immortal tower to this vast and tainted land. Holding Hazel, I hide behind the tree. I do not know if she is a friend or a foe, but she is definitely not a simple character. Hazel lays softly in my arms, struggling to speak out the word, "Escape." I trust Hazel's judgment. I suppress the killing intent and aura on my body, quickly disappearing into the dark night. Sophia, standing high above, overlooking the entire witch clan. She arrived at the clear and bottomless shaman's blessing lake, feeling as though it was the resting place of some ancient deity. She lightly tiptoed towards the center of the lake, but found a seal that imprisoned her underneath, seeming to prevent outsiders from entering. In the blink of an eye, she found herself back at the battleground where we had just fought. The air is filled with the lingering souls of immortals, and the bloodthirsty aura of demonic beasts. The witch clan seems to be hiding many secrets. Sophia doesn't mind. Her purpose in this trip is to sever causality for the sect. Just as she was about to leave, a strange color flickered in her indifferent eyes. Is this aura, the legendary hidden pupil of the immortal eyes from the senior fellow disciple at the mountain gate back then, able to see through secrets of the heart, more effective than any interrogation method? It's a pity that it has been polluted. This immortal eyes has lost its spirituality. Senior brother was killed and impurities appeared. This matter may have already involved causality. She released a red thread to search for the person who killed eldest young master. Inside a dilapidated attic, Henry was packing up his things to escape from the witch clan. A terrifying cry for help suddenly sounded behind him, causing Henry to be frightened and paralyzed on the ground. A figure with almost all its flesh sucked dry, leaving only skin and bones, was kneeling at the door seeking help from him. Upon a closer look, he realized it was true immortal Cloud, whose skull-like face covered in blood sent shivers down one's spine. Out of deep fear towards true immortal Cloud, Henry managed to overcome his disgust and helped him into the building. Henry's heart rate remained slow on the side. He could have escaped from the witch clan immediately, but unexpectedly, he still ended up in such a situation. He recalled the words of the second young master before. If true immortal Cloud's goal is to kill members of the witch clan, then as an acolyte, he probably won't be able to escape death either. At this point, he gritted his teeth and made a certain decision in his heart. Slightly sensing something unusual, true immortal Cloud, with his bloodshot left eye, gave Henry a warning glance. Henry made an excuse to go help true immortal find some medicine for healing. As he watched his departing figure, true immortal Cloud didn't think much of it. He didn't expect to be in such a plight. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he unleashed his inner demon to feign his own death. He lurked here for 100 years, willing to sign a servant oath with the witch clan just to peek at the divine heritage of the witch clan. Everything was going smoothly as planned, but he never expected that the eldest young master would die suddenly, triggering his inner demon to arise. As a result, the plan failed, leading to the current situation he finds himself in now. Just in time, Henry walked slowly towards true immortal Cloud, who impatiently asked him to quickly bring the medicine over. Henry's fat face suddenly turned grimace. "Go to hell!" He raised the ring selected from the treasure trove. He aimed at the ring of true immortal Cloud, and under the agitation of chi, it jetted out scorching flames. Fate seems to have been arranged in advance. The fortune he once gave to Henry has now become his misfortune. The scream of true immortal Cloud echoed throughout the attic. When the flames faded, true immortal Cloud was dead beyond death. He personally saw true immortal Cloud off on his final journey. I killed immortal Henry, and laughed like a madman. This filled his hypocritical heart with an unprecedented sense of fulfillment. He wanted to return home, making those useless people kneel at his feet. Suddenly, footsteps sounded behind him. He turned back vigilantly to look at the dark figure in front of the door. The visitor turned out to be Jameson, causing Henry's suspended heart to relax instantly. He couldn't contain the joy in his heart, asking Jameson to come over quickly to show off that he'd personally killed true immortal Cloud. As Jameson approached, his eyes burst with a murderous intent that was hard to conceal. Henry, who had a premonition that something was wrong, evidently realized it was already too late. A flash of sword light passed by as crimson liquid splashed up before his eyes. I fled with Hazel in my arms, but the danger had not dissipated. A red thread of danger sensed our whereabouts. This feeling is somewhat similar to Maeve's causality tracking technique. I turned around and saw a woman in white clothes quickly walking towards me. I do not know why she is chasing us. Is it for the eldest young master or true immortal Cloud? Killing true immortal Cloud nearly exhausted all of our means. I am powerless to deal with another unknown woman. Hazel in my arms immediately recognized her as coming from Divine Mountain. Because she looks down on everything here. People from Divine Mountain are mostly like that. She may have come down the mountain to track and kill true immortal Cloud, this remnant of Divine Mountain. Or perhaps she came because of the death of the eldest young master, who was the reincarnation of true immortal. In any case, she will never be a friend. We, exhausted, stopped in front of an old broken-down building. I walked into the building with Hazel in my arms, but just as we entered the door, a shocking scene unfolded before my eyes. Blood was everywhere, flowing from Henry's neck. His lifeless body indicated that he was truly dead. Looking up, I saw true immortal Cloud lying on the bed from burns, and he is dead. I didn't expect Henry to be dead. Now the divine succession ceremony can't be activated. Hazel, however, doesn't seem to care. If you don't want the power of the guardian deity, then forget about it. The inheritance of deity and the miraculous elixirs are all temporary. Time is the best treasure for cultivation. Hazel's words struck a chord with me. Yes, if we can all survive, not just cultivate, we will also be able to stay together for a long time. A smile gradually appeared on Hazel's face. Perhaps this is our final promise. The woman in white has come up behind me. I couldn't help but think of the night I was being chased by Maven Dead Town, just as injured and desperate. But this time seems even more desperate than back then. After the fierce battle with true immortal Cloud, we are all exhausted. She, who came for the death of eldest young master, now looks at Hazel with a sword in hand. Have you ever thought about the consequences of killing someone from the immortal tower? Her brief words reveal indifference and disdain towards the people of the world. Hazel has no fear at all. He is a member of my witch clan. What does it have to do with you whether he lives or dies? Sophia, who originally intended to kill Hazel on the spot, found it a pity due to his noble bloodline. She suggested taking him back to the immortal tower to await the master's decision. Hazel mocked her arrogance. These immortals, who claim to preach equality, have long looked down upon all living beings as dust. Sophia seemed completely indifferent. She reached out and grabbed Hazel by his snowy hair. Seeing her holding a sword about to harm, how could I just sit back and do nothing? I gathered my strength and lunged at her with a sword. I was shaken off by a wave of her sleeve, but I couldn't give up. I reached out and softly called, "John Palace!" The Jean Palace, inserted diagonally into the soil, suddenly rose up out of nowhere. I stabbed towards the fairy once again. Sophia, however, effortlessly grasped the vibrating Jean Palace in her hand. She turned around, and the sword swept through the air in an arc as she flicked her palm back, bringing with it a strong wind that cut through several strands of hair. The Jean Palace landed precisely next to me. Sensing something, she suddenly turned back with the sword raised once again. The thunderstorm raged as a demonic spirit clad in yellow robes appeared outside the house. Sophia was also surprised at this moment, never expecting to encounter a demonic spirit here. This is indeed the dormant demonic spirit in the cave. It actually wasn't eliminated by the true immortal Cloud, but managed to escape instead. Since ancient times, the righteous and evil cannot coexist. Sophia, who came from the immortal tower, will definitely not let the demonic spirit go unchecked. She recited a spell to trap Hazel in an earth prison, abandoning the plan to kill her directly. Then she wielded her sharp sword and gracefully floated towards the demonic spirit in the rain. But what she didn't know was that the magic didn't work. Hazel secretly muted the sound at a critical moment. As she freed herself, I picked up Hazel and prepared to escape. As soon as we stepped out of the door, the spiritual pressure released by the demonic spirit suddenly hit my mind. In the night rain, Hazel and I supported each other and finally managed to escape the epicenter of the strongest spiritual pressure. Hazel led me to the secret passage of the witch clan, where a well is inscribed with a guarding spell. Without time to think, Hazel pulled me and jumped into the well. Hazel reached into her sleeve to find the key to unlock the hidden passage. But she found that the door had already been opened by someone. She thought it was me who had opened it. Hazel believed that I was the key. Just like before, the manpower at Stone Gate and Sin Pool cannot open it. It must be the key that is at play. Afterward, True Immortal Cloud used the true word stone to question everyone. The others were not, only I remained in a coma. Upon hearing this, I also felt puzzled. The key was fake, as claimed by True Immortal Cloud, but not everyone was present at that time. I looked at the open door of the dark room in front of me, and suddenly a familiar feeling came over me. Is the dead town, which is usually sealed off, opening its doors to me on that day? Just like today, could it be that the gates of the dead town are really opening for me? Or is it possible that someone has entered the dead town before me? And that person is the key. Hazel pulled me by the hand, and we walked into the dark alley together. It made me think of the Mid-Autumn Festival in my previous world today. We hadn't walked far when we heard the sound of someone reciting poetry from deep within the secret passage. The poetry being recited was Su Shi's Moon over West River, a poem about the Mid-Autumn Festival. A figure holding a lantern slowly approached from around the corner. He was reciting widely circulated verses from my previous world. The lamplight in his hand illuminated his face. "Jameson! Why are you here?" "I'm not Jameson, I'm James. Luoyang is my hometown." "I am James. I stand on Cloud Peak, above both of you, revealing my formidable presence. Word by word, proclaiming myself as the third in the world." The boy was born with a golden key, a key that can unlock all seals. With innate talent since childhood, his cultivation speed is almost unmatched by all peers, being regarded as a true genius. James, however, was not surprised by these things because ever since birth, he knew that his abilities were bestowed upon him by the former master from the other shore. The power bestowed upon him by the former master is precisely the key mentioned by the false true immortal cloud, and its true name is called Boundary River. When he was 7 years old, his parents took him to meet the new sect leader of Taoism. The sect leader just glanced at him and foresaw that he would be burdened by fame for his whole life. Young James, however, did not believe it, thinking she was a fraud. He never coveted fame, so how could he be burdened by it? Until he turned 10 years old, when his mother came to find him with a list first published by Sky Pinnacle Ranking. He felt the meaning of fame for the first time. The imagined scene did not appear. In front of his name are Lin and Maeve. At first, he didn't think so. He just thought it was a boring notice board. The third year. The ranking remains the same. These two names have always been above him. He gradually began to care. He started thinking about having his name appear before theirs. James, who was so strong, at this moment, generated the idea of an inner demon. Once this thought arose, it hung over his head like a dark cloud. It would not dissipate until it turned into real rain. That night, he saw a statue of Avalokitesvara with 1,000 arms in his dream. The statue of Avalokitesvara stood among a group of Asuras and Yakshas. He had a kind and compassionate expression with a slight smile on his face. He was woken up from the dream in fright. He couldn't even cultivate peacefully anymore. To eliminate his inner demon, he left his family and joined the Buddhist sect incognito. Since entering the Buddhist sect, he seems to wander in emptiness, dedicating himself to daily practice, completely forgetting himself. Often, he would sit for several days at a time. In such emptiness, he thinks he has found himself. Until that day, when he heard that the Taoist disciple Maeve was coming to the Buddhist temple to listen to the scriptures. The Zen mind, which should have been as calm as water, rippled once again at this moment. Originally, he thought he could resist the inner demon, but when he saw Maeve about to leave after listening to the scriptures, he ultimately couldn't control his inner desires and challenged her. But reality was so cruel. Watching Maeve's back as she walked away, he was defeated. Blood stained his clothes, and his Zen heart broke on that day. He finally understood that he could only ever be third in the world. The heart that arrogantly believed itself to be the unparalleled genius was shattered and vanished without a trace. After that, there were no surprises in the Sky Pinnacle ranking. Lin and Maeve always stayed at the top and bottom. And he was like a river beneath a mountain, stretching across, with people unable to pass, and he also couldn't reverse the current to climb to the peak. When James decided to accept his mediocrity, he received an enlightenment. The goddess of mercy in his dreams opened her eyes. Go to Dead Town. There you can find your answers. He used the power of Boundary River to push open the long sealed gates of Dead Town. He walked along the street, and this day happened to be the decisive battle between the demonic cult and Taoism. At the end of the road stood a Guanyin pavilion. Everything was just as he had seen in his dream. Hidden behind the deity statue, he witnessed the battle between the strongest warriors, as well as the fear of the invincible man and woman when facing their old master. He watched the two trembling figures on the platform, and it brought him unparalleled joy, because he felt he had become a part of this terror as well. After the altar opened, the three crossed into another world. James, who woke up first, stole the luo from me and pushed me off the cliff. I, who narrowly escaped death, was discovered and saved by Hazel. However, I only learned about all this today. I didn't even recognize the person in front of me, who also comes from the same world as me. Both you and Maeve are prideful to the core. I have been in third place for so many years, and you don't even remember my name. James in the secret passage started to laugh maniacally. He was also blunt in saying that Luo was the one he defeated and Henry was the one he killed. The divine succession ceremony was thus disrupted, and he didn't care about it either because, like me, he was brought to this place by the altar, albeit all by accident. He has another power to inherit, not from the witch clan, this so-called guardian deity. Do you really think you can kill me? James looked at me, the smile fading from his face. He really didn't have much confidence, even though both Hazel and I were seriously injured at the moment. But he was unwilling to leave like this. You and Maeve are both proud and arrogant, but you are also my inner demons I must personally destroy. Hazel had a puzzled look on her face when she heard our conversation. She couldn't understand our language. I could only explain that we were speaking in our local dialect and asked her not to worry. However, just by looking at my indifferent appearance, James couldn't help but recall the day he was defeated by Maeve. James, you will pay the price for your arrogance. With the accumulated years of humiliation, he swung his sword, clashing with mine. I had no intention of using any skills, only meeting the enemy head-on. But I realized that I had expended too much energy before, and couldn't sustain myself by persisting like this. James also noticed at this moment that Hazel was missing, thinking that she had taken the opportunity to escape. He scoffed, saying that we were in big trouble and each had to fend for ourselves. Just as he was about to swing his sword again, someone suddenly called out his name from behind. He turned around and saw that it was Third Miss, whom he had arranged to wait at the exit. She then casually drew out her own sword. She yelled, "Acolyte, listen up! Let go!" Although unwilling, he subconsciously let go of his hand when the command was uttered. Wrong. Soon he realized that the command had not been transmitted to his body. And I took advantage of the moment when he relaxed, raising my sword and slashing straight towards him. Realizing this, James avoided the vital point. But I also wounded his shoulder. James instantly understood that the person in front of him was not Third Miss Hazel. With a smile on his face, she removed her disguise, and despite her already severe injuries, she was forcing herself to hold on. She successfully deceived James, gaining me a slight chance. But there's only one chance. I immediately picked up Hazel and ran towards the stone path. I used up the little strength left in my body and ran frantically, finally seeing the exit emitting bright light. But fate seems to be playing a joke on us again. What lies ahead is not an exit, but a bottomless cliff, and James, who is chasing us relentlessly, has caught up from behind. Today, meeting an old friend in a foreign land, I have noted down this third place beneath the sky. My name is Lin Tao Te Ching. There is a saying, "Know the male yet keep to the female, receive the world in your arms," which is the name Master gave me. Next time we meet, I will definitely tear you apart into pieces. The vows echo between the cliffs by the lake. Hazel and I, like birds embracing each other, leaped off the cliff together,